that they sort of they coexist alongside the power ups, so that you can take the actual curriculum, much like the book Target 100, and you can apply them and really work through this, because lasting weight loss, guys, is a a self-care portion of your life, right? When I see people really succeed at this over time, it's when they understand that they, of the pie that is their life, they must take responsibility and put themselves in that pie, versus always putting everyone else first, or paying too much attention to work, or other pieces of their life, and really letting go of their own care. So we're going to really focus on this idea about change tonight. It is absolutely inevitable. It is happening at all moments. It is inevitable, and growth is optional. But each one of you who cared enough to show up here tonight really does want to grow and want to become a master of transitions. Because all of us want to just master the things that stand in the way of our weight loss, right? The big things, the transitions, and the emotional eating, and the nighttime eating, and the learning to eat through, events, learning to manage our stress, learning to come to a place where we're not just following a food plan, but we are absolutely living a life, right? So we are all here to grow. So growth is optional, but I'm proud of every one of you for showing up tonight. Okay. So let's just talk about what is a transition. It is the internal psychological process of adapting to a new situation, right? There is an internal psychological process of adapting that we need to become aware of, and allow ourselves to actually learn that there is a skill. Because I see this to everyone, guys. Lasting weight loss is not about food, or you not understanding that the Snickers bar is not as good a choice as an apple. It is cognitive behavior skills and habit formation that really sets the stage. And then it's the building of the awareness around the things that throw us off. And transitions are that. So when you start to think about transition as this internal psychological process of adapting to a new situation, like using my own example, when you lose your father, it is this massive internal psychological process of adapting to understanding what your life is now. And so there is a lot of stress, and there is a lot of anxiety. Same thing with what Judy's talking about as something like a seasonal change, the internal process of adapting to that situation. For many of us, we just believe it should occur, but it doesn't just occur. This is an active, alive, and interactive process for us. So these things happen quickly, they happen slowly. There are many transitions going on in your life, where maybe they move your desk at work, and all of a sudden you're not walking by the water cooler as much as you were, and your water pillar's going down. Or they could be, things that are happening slowly over time, where you're finishing up a big project at work, and slowly you're ramping down, and so you're not as busy, and maybe you're bored at work now, and you find yourself snacking or walking to the vending machine more often. So these things can be sudden, they can be slower, just wanting you to be aware that they're happening in every aspect of your life all the time. Mastering these transitions is the process of moving successfully from the old to the new. Most of us trip up along the way, as we don't really create the awareness that we need to transition, right? So we've talked about a lot, but new jobs, seasonal transitions, even a new baby, sending my son off to college. Guys, I've told you this transition, I am still managing through this understanding of how much food to buy and make in my house. Like, I'm so confused. We had this great way of like managing and having the right amount of stuff. Suddenly we're just like wasting food. I'm overeating because I'm trying to eat the food before it goes bad. Like, all these things. I'm going, okay, okay, okay. I'm still managing through the process of this transition to just three of us in the house. That's okay, right? We're trying and experimenting along the way. So, um, how to identify a transition? Because what I say, most people are missing them as they're occurring. They're just not aware. So you want to first, as we're talking, and when I show you the worksheet for our Power Up this month, all of these are going to be represented. So you want to look around and investigate your environment, right? Environmental changes are very much a cause for transitional and the need for a transition strategy. If you move into a new home, or like we were talking about, the season changes, or perhaps oh, I know COVID for me was such a massive environmental shift from walking and going into the city for my job and then sitting on Zoom all day, right? Those environmental, you need to be looking at your environment all the time to say what is shifting. Time-based transitions. So an evening routine or a morning routine, getting, you know, as an example, a time-based transition. This is just an example. When kids go back to school, you have a total shift in a routine that perhaps was working for you. I see this happen for a lot of people as their kids come out of school into summer. They had a great routine, and all of a sudden, this transition of having their kids home and having to feed them and they're not waking up and they don't have this routine. I want you looking at any of your routines that seem to be changing right now, moving from one state to another, right? So again, from summer vacation, uh, say you go on summer vacation for a while and you're out of work, finishing that big project at work, like we were talking about, and suddenly having more time on your hands, right? A lot of people, find themselves having these moments where, their job really shifts. My job shifts a lot. You guys don't want anything to do with me in August. But come September, October, you love me. December, forget about it. You really don't want to see me. But January, I am hopping, right? So I have different states, even in my work life. Verbal or visual cues. This is one that I have really come into understanding recently, in the transition of, my son going to school and all of these things taking place. I realized that the mean girl was really showing up a lot more during transitions when I don't feel comfortable in my routines, and if I feel good and grounded. When I'm in a transitionary state, the mean girl is much louder, and I have to manage that negative internal voice about what's going on for me, like, oh well, you shouldn't have had that breakfast. You do better when you have eggs. I know, like, I had a yogurt with berries, okay, mean girl. It wasn't like I had waffles and chicken, for breakfast. Like, noticing the change in the tone of the way that you are talking to yourself. Even different clothing, right? Wearing different clothing, feeling like you don't want to put things on that show your how you're feeling, kind of wearing things over and over again, right? Just kind of hiding just a little bit often will help me understand I'm in a transition and I'm not as comfortable as I am usually. And then that shift in tone or mood. right? Going from feeling very excited about your weight loss and feeling like you've got a routine to this sort of feeling very apathetic about it. So these transitions are here, they're really happening for us all the time. And the cues that I want you to start to listen for are those things like, saying, God, I was in this great rhythm and I really just lost it. I don't really know. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. It's always a really good cue for me to go, oh, something is in transition and I have not been aware of it. And I need to stay aware. Okay. And so really thinking about that as a cue to yourself that you are in a transition and you haven't been really paying attention. Okay. So it is totally possible to thrive in transitions, right? It is absolutely possible. I love this little guy. Isn't he the cutest? Makes me so happy. Um, so to thrive in a transitionary time is to really have the right mindset, right? To have this acceptance mindset, to embrace that positive growth oriented mindset. So many of you guys were with me when we did the growth mindset power up a couple of months ago and really loved it. It was super impactful for you guys. It is in the recordings. Okay. If you are a Target 100 member, you have hundreds of recordings, all of my power ups. The one I want you to go back and listen to is the growth mindset power up because it's so important for us to embrace a growth mindset in these times of transition. So anything from, you know, uh, simple things, right? Like Judy having this understanding of what's about to occur for her and saying, how do I, manage through this? How do I plan some new things? How do I try new things? How do I grow through this transition versus just falling back into the habit patterns that our brain wants us to do? And now, because you guys are habit experts, and you understand that the body and the brain see habits in a 360-degree type of way, that as that light changes in the sky and as those television programs come back on for her, and if we watched Judy, she sits in the same corner in the couch, she has the same blanket, she puts her tea there, like whatever it is, she does it exactly the same way. So she'll have to really create a growth mindset around, how do I want to see this happen this time through? What will I change? Right? So that growth mindset, rewatch that power up, guys. You must, in a transition time, set clear goals. So taking a moment and working on the worksheet and understanding that establishing some short-term and long-term goals that align with the changes. And that comes with what we all talk about here all the time: testing and learning, testing and learning, testing and learning, right? So I hope you don't mind me borrowing your example, Judy. It's just so great. Thank you. It's that so Judy may say, okay, what I would like to do is, instead of being on the couch, I'm just making this all up, I am going to walk on my treadmill for the first show of the evening. I'm not going to get in the corner of the couch. I'm going to test that out just for a week and see what that feels like. So she's making a short-term change to find out how that affects her bottom line outcome. Uh, and then a longer term goal, which, aligns with some of those changes, is that, okay, for the winter, I want to make sure I hit my 10,000 steps 85% of the time. And, that's my long-term goal this winter. Because we all know now, if you're part of Target 100, that behavior over time equals results. And that we step on our back, the back of our success, from where we learned the last time. So the changes in our processes are just us learning from our success. So if Judy did that this winter and said, I'm just going to be working on staying active and moving, she is going to lose weight during this season because her behavior over time will equal those results. And then when the next winter comes around, she already has now a new type of routine that encourages long term weight maintenance or weight loss. So we look for those things that are really going to impact us short term and long term. Adaptability, staying open, right? The people who are successful and in that growth mindset is the person that is willing to adapt. So I always know I'm in trouble personally when I start to feel very rigid. It's almost like a very clear sign to me that I feel a lack of adaption. Okay. I want to be able to be adaptable. So stay open to those new ideas and approaches and ways of doing things. Remember how much the brain dislikes change. So if there's already transition going on and then you're coming in on top of it, expect discomfort. And discomfort is okay. So, really looking for what is it that I'm going to be changing in my life? Seeking new skills, learning and growing. I love that you're here seeking new skills through transition, doing your worksheets, prioritizing your self-care is big. I think as a transition goes on, and I worked very hard this summer to prioritize myself, and I am super proud of myself that it was a 7-pound weight gain and that I very quickly was able to recognize the transition, recognize the skills that I needed to employ, and get myself back to where I feel my best. Because I got to take care of my mom and I need to support my son. And I do have to support my other son who's home. So knowing how to come back from that edge and manage through it is going to be so, so key. Engage your support network. We have the most incredible community here, and I've seen you all in times of difficulty reach out and say, I am having a transition. I don't know how to get exercise going. I don't know what foods to be eating in this season, right? You have asked for that help. So engage your support network. It's always going to be the key. And we love this support network so much. And communicate. That I think, again, is expression. Communicate here, especially when we kind of open the floor as you listen to me. I hope you're jotting down, maybe you want to ask some questions at the end of this, and we can help you manage through a transition, or we can help you in the community. I found that as I sat down, I sat with David a lot of mornings and just really communicated how I felt and really talked through how I was being affected by these changes in my life. Communicating with someone you trust about how you feel is so important in a transition, because you can feel like I don't know. This was a one of my dad's old sayings. When I'm in transition, I feel like a cut snake, which is like a saying about like when a snake gets cut, they just kind of flip all over the place, and you see them kind of just like going all over. That's how I feel when I'm in transition and I'm looking for my grounding. So communication is going to be critical. Um, we are going to want to break everything down into baby steps. Always the smaller, we say this at Target 100, the smaller these things are for you, break it down into manageable tasks and actionable solutions. Cultivate that resilience, just reducing that guilt and shame and saying, you know what, and we work on this so much about how we talk to ourselves, saying just really focusing on what it is that you did well versus what you didn't do well. That simple shift of just looking through your day and going, you know what? I did do that, and I did do that, and I did do that, versus I didn't do that, and I didn't do that, and I didn't do that. How you feel. You can grow and be resilient when you focus on what you have done and what you are doing versus what you are not doing. Um, we want to stay positive, optimistic, and most of all curious. Remember what we've taught you in the past about curiosity and the brain science behind changing, right? Again, I'll just borrow Judy as an example. If she were to say, you know what, I'm just curious, I wonder what it would feel like to watch a show while I walk on the treadmill. Instead of saying, oh, I don't like this. I don't want to. I want to be in the corner of the couch. Being able to say, I just am curious just this one time to see what it's all about. It helps us take that step. We have to challenge that mean girl because she shows up like crazy and says, well, how is that effective? That's not going to help. Who cares? You didn't do this. You didn't do that. Why not? You can't do anything. Ugh, right? She's always there just waiting to pounce. So challenge that mean girl, challenge that mean guy. They're showing up. Something is going on. Okay. And you want to look at your pillars, surrounding yourself with positive influences. That's what Target 100 is. We are constant positive influence. We all have those negative influences in our lives that we maybe have to deal with in our families or our jobs or wherever it is. We know what that feels like. Push yourself in transitionary times towards the people who make you feel your best. Stay away from those toxic folks, all right? And then celebrate your progress, no matter how small it is. That was really helpful for me this summer, was to just really focus on celebrating the things that I was doing well. And as I crawled out of that hole, really focused on the progress. So stay focused there around it. We are in a massive seasonal shift right now, guys. So on top of any other shifts you might be going through, you have a big seasonal shift going on. So every season you need to be thinking, and I've got a lot of pros in here now who've been through the seasonal shift from, summer to fall to winter to spring. I always beg you guys, give me a year and I will have you absolutely cooking with gas throughout the entire year, understanding how to navigate these transitions that happen. So I want you guys thinking, and as we pull up the worksheet, really thinking about what is changing in my eating. I was just like, I do not want salad to save my life right now. All of a sudden, I was just out of nowhere the other day. It was like, I just want soup. And I didn't have any soup. I had a bag of frozen vegetables. I had a thing of chicken broth. I had some shredded chicken that we had made over the weekend, and a can of beans and a can of tomatoes, diced tomatoes. I literally threw it all in a saucepan, a little seasoning in there, and made the fastest soup. It was like 5 minutes because I am a master of this transition. I was like, I don't want that salad. I just don't want it anymore. And I've got to throw something together that resonates. So it's looking at all of your meals and your snacks right now. Think about the seasonal produce. Today I roasted butternut squash for the first time this season. I was like, oh, it's back. I baked a potato the other day, right? We're shifting. My tastes and desires are changing. So think about your meals, modify those workout plans, right? Everything shifts now. Maybe, you are working outside. You've got to think about what you're going to do now. Address your mental well-being. This season tends to be a little depressive for people. You may need some light therapy. You may want to, think about really, making sure you get outside in the sunlight. I'll do at lunch because it's dark when I go out in the morning now. I will make sure that at lunch I get outside for just 10 minutes in actual sunlight during the next few months of my life, which are very, very cold and depressing, right? So counter those mood changes. I do a lot of exercise. I shift my exercise patterns. I hold on to it because I know it does help me through these next couple of months. Really regularly monitor your progress. Another piece of transitions is we tend to want to just step away from looking at things like the scale and going, oh, I'll just take a little break, or I'll take my Fitbit off, or I won't look at the data. So really kind of understanding that, monitoring my progress this summer. I watched myself gaining the weight. I didn't stop weighing in. I didn't stop, looking at what was happening for me, because it helped me assess and move forward and move through the transition versus kind of checking out. The real process here is staying involved even through that transition. Okay. So we'll keep monitoring that. So our playbook, very, very important here. We've talked a lot about the awareness. Each of you, as we sit here tonight, this is your moment to think about your own life. This is why we do these calls, because when else do you sit for 45 minutes to an hour and think about you and what's happening for you? Right? So create awareness for yourself right now about what is changing. What is going on in my life? What shift am I in? Am I in a career change, or am I contemplating one? What is changing for me? Um, Remember seeking to understand the internal and external signals that are going on, right? That was that environment. Your new job, might have you home later, and all of a sudden your exercise pillar took a tanking, right? Or the internal, like Judy was saying, that lack of exercise actually has you feeling not so great, right? So understanding that, we want to set those clear goals and expectations. I'm calling out a couple of my favorite worksheets here, always available for you. They're in that, you're in your drawers there in the Realize 100 membership. They're always there. The next 24-hour worksheet, when I'm in a transition, that breaking it down into just the next 24 hours of my life and saying, I can at least control this next 24 hours and really think about how I'm doing. Um, just for the next 24 hours, not even for the next week of my life. Can I just plan breakfast, lunch, and dinner tomorrow? Can I think about what my exercise is, or where my movement is, or how I'm going to hydrate? All of those things are so important. So use the next 24 worksheet, or even your weekly planner if you feel like you're in a space where you could think ahead, for an entire week, to think about, like, what are my challenges in this transition. um, Return to the planning resources. In a transition, it is critical that you return to your planning resources, right? During a seasonal shift, go back to that 555, right? Like, go back and say, what is breakfast? What is lunch? What is dinner right now? Use your time management skills and your testing and learning, right? We say in the test and learn scenario, monitor your moods. Having the plums, right? The poor little old me's show up in transition because we don't feel in control. So another real signal for me, other than my mean girl showing up and being a little louder, me feeling sorry for myself. Poor little old me. I have all this stuff going on, and I'm by myself, I'm alone, right? That really gives me a signal that I'm in a transition. We talked a little bit about managing and embracing discomfort, really learning that discomfort is okay, and sitting in it and seeing how it feels. In some of our courses, we've talked about urge surfing as a skill, right? Where we sit and we really, you know, uh, understand that the discomfort only lasts maybe 10 or 12 minutes. So learning to navigate through those things. Seek your support in the community. Ask questions. I'm going to open it up for us to ask questions now and talk about a transition. Use the data. Stress relief should be your top priority, guys. Okay. When you are in transition, that is where you want to spend your time, is getting stress relief. right? Pushing into breath work. I went back for acupuncture, did a lot of stress relief. Even David and I found this new little massage place where you can get a massage. It's $1 a minute. You pick however many minutes you need, right? And like I was like, oh, this is great, right? Refuse to disengage. This is one of our sayings, right? Refuse to disengage. Think about the other places in your life where it is not an option to disengage. You can't go to work and be like, I don't really want I don't really want to engage today. Or taking care of your children, right? Can't really just be like, don't really want to parent. Don't want to be a parent anymore. Just gonna like step away from this. Here, when things get difficult, we tend to have learned through behavior and through time and through diet mentality that disengagement is an option. Once I found out that it wasn't, and if I refused to disengage, it was again a small bit of discomfort that I went through, but soon enough, I was back to my rhythm or found the rhythm that I was looking for. And then look ahead. That's why I love that Judy was looking ahead. She said, I know what's coming, right? I know what's coming, and I can prepare for that. And I can make a plan, some new short and long term goals for that. So we have some amazing worksheets for you. I made a new worksheet just for this because I've never done a power up on transitions. This is a new piece of curriculum for us. So I made something called the Transition Survival Guide, and you'll find that posted for you guys inside of the Realize 100 membership page to print out. It talks through, right? Number one is awareness. Then it talks through how is it affecting my environment, my mood and energy, my routines, whatever that transition is, seasonal or whatever it is. And then there's planning. I want you guys to think through every single one of your pillars, right? How do I need to think about food in this transition? Water. For all of us right now, I don't know about you guys, like I'm drinking water, no ice again. It's back to water with no ice. It's back to hot lemon water in the morning, because I'm freezing. I'm doing tea, herbal teas again, right? Things are shifting. My movement patterns are shifting. It's getting dark. My dog walks are getting shorter. All these things are happening. I want you to go pillar by pillar on this worksheet. Then I gave you a spot here to think about your short and long-term goals. Find out which one of those things you really want to focus on. And then don't forget your two worksheets, the My Next 24 and your weekly planner. Okay. These are going to be so important to you right now. Just a little bit of homework, just like you would do in your job, right? If you were starting a new project or things were transitioning, you would do some planning, some year-end planning, if you will. So, okay. We have a challenge every month. This one, as we really think about movement, we're calling it the Target 100K Challenge. So we are the first person to hit 100,000 steps this week wins. So what we want you to do is take a screenshot of your daily steps and post them in the Realize 100 community and share any images of your walks that you want to. The more pictures, the better. Cheer each other on, right? But that first person to hit 100,000 steps this week wins our prize. So you will see us all in there, Fitbits on. This is beautiful walking weather for a lot of us. It's not as hot as it was, and it's not quite dark yet. So let's take advantage. This is a 7-day challenge. It starts tomorrow. So at the end of the day, screenshot your steps in there. And then the first person to show us their weekly total of 100K wins. All right. So this is our challenge of the month. For those of you guys who are joining us tonight, just kind of checking us out, want to hear what a power up is all about, you guys can come to all of our events and check it out for 30 days for free. So if you really love this, we're putting up a link in the chat where you can join us. It's $34.99 a month, but you get 30 days risk free. You will get all of the tracking parts of our wheel. You will get, direct access to my live events, guides, recipes, meal plans, interactive live events. We have about 6 live events coming up this month just for everyone. And you get access to our library of hundreds of pieces of content that we've recorded for the last couple of years. So come on in and check us out. The things that are coming up for these people that are here and in our membership, just so you guys know, we have one of our real lives where I do actual coaching with one of our members. Lori Wells and I did a coaching session, and that will be dropping on Thursday. Target practice this month, we're doing what's for dinner, and I'm actually going to lead that with my husband David, and we're going to be talking through some great recipes and how to manage through meal planning and really going into this change of fall. We have members for members, which is our monthly event where there's no recording. We get together and we talk about deep and important topics and help each other through. We have an open house this month. I'm actually going to be talking with a behavior economist expert named Dan Ariely, very famous man. We will be talking about how misbeliefs affect our long-term weight loss. And then we have a worksheet workshop, Halloween edition. So all of these are live events that you guys can join us for if you want to. So lots coming up. Also, we are adding a couple of new types of events where we do some what we call Target 100 fundamentals every month. This is for all of you guys who are in membership. We're going to do an Uncover Your Why workshop on Saturday, October 12th. And then we're going to always focus on a pillar each month. So this month, we're going to go back and focus on that food pillar in our foundational curriculum so that you can get a kind of a brush up on that for you.